All right, welcome back to episode 140 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Troy. What's going on, Troy? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. I have to leave and go to Rochester after this, so that's fun. Hour drive to go watch a hockey game. Can't wait.
Yeah, that'll be a little bit of a trip there for you. We're also missing the Wild and Blackhawks game, which kind of stinks, huh?
Yeah, I want to see Bedard. He's playing angry now. Now he's all crabby because he finally addressed the rumor stuff, and now he's mad.
He went after his family. Would you? I've heard people suggest that maybe you shouldn't have addressed it. I don't think it's a bad thing, though. I mean, let people know how you feel, right?
Yeah.
Or do you think he should have kept his mouth shut?
I don't know. I'm fine with it. Like, stay what's on your mind. Go out. I mean, at the end of the day, all that people really care about is if you produce.
Yeah, true there. Well, Troy, when does our apology tour to Ontario, California start?
Yeah, we kind of messed that up. And the stupidest thing is I knew that after we started getting messages because I've looked at Ontario, California before because I always was like kind of fascinated with Rancho Cucamonga, California. I think it's just a fun name. And I've always known that Ontario, California is like exactly south of that. And I remember one time I was looking at a map and I saw it said Kings have their youth hockey stuff there. And I think I saw the minor league team stadium once. And I was just, once those messages came out, I was just like, bonehead gong show moment personified right there.
In case you missed our last show, we did a Ricky deep dive, chronicled Brant Clark, the young defenseman prospect for the LA Kings, who currently is playing for the Ontario Reign. And like you said, the dots didn't connect, and we went off on this Ontario, Canada tangent and how far that is from LA, and why does that make sense? The super sad part, Troy, is I honestly don't think that's the first time we made that mistake on this show. I believe it's the second time.
Well, it's funny too. We're gonna send California Dave on a mission to go do like a field report from in front of their arena next time.
Yeah. Oh, and then one more thing, since we're on this track here, I think we might actually be the worst two people at pronunciation of Canadian names on literally the planet Earth. Been thinking a lot about this. Like, even in 50-50 cases, we get it wrong almost every single time. So a listener, presumably from Canada, Troy, wrote in to say it's the Barry Coats instead of I think we might have said Barry
Colts.
Barry, maybe didn't know.
Barry Colts.
Yeah, but again, though, it's spelled Barrie. And I think the problem is, okay, like I said, I put thought into this.
Yeah.
Is I know Canada uses like English, like England English, right?
Queen's,
where they put like the
Queen's
U
English.
And Queen's English. They put U in color and stuff like that. Because Barrie, the way it phonetically spells to us is Barry.
Yeah.
There's no way that's Barry in
that's
America.
Berry. That's
yeah.
Oh well, we'll just keep on chucking on.
Yeah, well, live and learn. And I think, and I'm mad at our schools, Troy, because they didn't they know we were going to be hockey card podcasters and need to know our Canadian geography, and so yeah.
I had to focus on handwriting, which I use 0 times now.
So we're a work in progress, and probably will be forever when it comes to Canadian name pronunciation. One last thing, real quick, before we get started, is just a reminder that the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast, which means that we rely on support of listeners like yourself to join our Patreon, join out of $1.99 support level tier. It's $5 a month. It helps us cover our show expenses, produce more and, well, hopefully better hockey card content, and then even in a small way, do some fun stuff for the hobby. In addition to helping us out and keeping our show going, you also get access to our Discord server where you can chat with the community that we built there on a daily basis. It's very easy to do. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, search at the top, or you don't have to search for anything. There's a link that says become a patron. If you want to search, go to the Patreon website, which is patreon.com. There you can search for Hockey Cards Gong Show, or there's a link in the show description or the YouTube app that you might, or within the YouTube description as well. And then finally in our Instagram and TikTok profiles, there's a link there too. Boy, Trey, you'd think I'd be able to get through that. I've done it like 9,000 times. But
Hey, that's all right.
words.
You got it. Podcast app is what that's what tripped you up. You're trying to get to it, but you finally got there, I think.
There's so many places, man. Patron, which is the most important part. We want to acknowledge Brendan, who joined our on a 199 support level tier between our last show and today. So thank you very, very much, Brendan. We appreciate your support. And with that, I'm ready, Troy, for the game plan. Let's get this show rolling.
On today's show, we begin with the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 40. Then it's off to Who's Hot and the Struggle Bus. Next, we take a look at hobby news. Then we try and answer the question, are PMGs dead or is now the time to buy? This is followed by new product releases, our Gongshow mailbag, and personal pickups. Boy, Josh, I think that's the first time I got through that without stumbling somewhere along the way. I feel really good about myself. Now I'll probably mess it up from going forward for the rest of the time. All right, Josh, we are on episode 140. So previously we looked at the greatest NHL player that wore the number that matched our episode number. We ran through all those numbers. So now we are looking at the almost greatest NHL player to wear each number from the runners up in the Hockey Writers greatest NHL player to wear each number article. So Josh, the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 40 per the nominees in the Hockey Writers greatest NHL player to wear each number article and selected by me is this guy, Tuukka Rask. This might be one of my favorite pictures ever. This is such a sweet picture. That
what's
helmet.
That stance called? Like, what's the position?
Oh, he's just in a goalie stance. You can go.
That's very technical.
Well, I'm right. There's wide stance. It would be a wide stance if you want to go that route.
Okay.
But
okay.
He's just being Tuukka with that sweet helmet.
Were you other nominee, Josh? Fan?
What's that?
Oh, sorry. Were you a Vaughn Pads fan?
Yeah, Vaughn to me are by far and away the best pads out there. However, I will say this Warrior and I think True's making pads now. They're starting to catch up. There's also I'll say this name. It's like Lefebvre. They used to be under CCM. I think it was a guy that created like the kind of technique or to do them or whatever, but he kind of went out on his own. But you don't see those a lot. But yeah, I am a big fan of Vaughn for sure.
Okay.
All right, Josh. The other nominee at number 40, and it sent me into shock, and I didn't like it, was Devan Dubnyk. I am not touching Devan Dubnyk. I don't want to do Devan Dubnyk. Too many bad memories of him. He came in.
Remember the Wild fans would chant that the whole game?
Like he would play. He had a run with us, though, where it was like, I don't know, 30, 40 games where he was just a world beater. And then he started regressing to some of the habits that got him in trouble in the past. But yeah, he was the other nominee.
They traded for him, and then he had that right away. He had that magical run.
Yeah.
But then he stunk.
Yep.
For like 2 years after that. Remember that too.
The thing with Dubnyk too is problem was he would always give up that one goal that was just a killer. Like it should have been stopped. Like it, a marshmallow throw from the blue line, it would just go in and not screened or anything. It was just like I think he just deflated the team half the time. But all right. So as a reminder, the greatest story number 40 was Henrik Zetterberg. All right, Josh, our boy Tuukka Rask, goalie from Savonlinna, Finland. That's what I'm going to go with. Someone will tell me if I'm wrong. Rask was drafted 21st overall in the 2005 NHL entry draft by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I did not know that.
Rask didn't need him, Troy.
Yeah, Leafs didn't need him. Wait till I got some stuff on that. Rask played in 564 regular season NHL games over a 15-season NHL career. Rask played his entire career with the Boston Bruins. Now, if you're wondering what happened with Toronto, who drafted him, Rask was traded by Toronto to the Bruins for Andrew Raycroft. Now, Raycroft won the Calder Trophy as a goalie in 2003-04, and Toronto management had pegged Justin, I think it's Pogge, let's say Pogue, as their potential goalie of the future. So they decided to move Tuukka. The funny thing is, the Bruins were going to release Raycroft, which actually would have made him available to Toronto without trading Rask. But we will have more on this trade later in Fun Facts. Part of that, too, is I always wonder if they say that afterwards just to kind of stick the knife in and twist it a little bit. But yeah. All right, so Tuukka Rask for his awards and accomplishments. One-time Stanley Cup winner, 2011. One-time Vezina winner, 2013-14. One-time Jennings winner. One-time NHL first All-Star team selection. One-time NHL second All-Star team selection. two-time NHL All-Star Game selection. For his career, Tuukka had 308 wins, 165 losses with 66 ties for a 2.28 goals against average, which, Josh, is tied for 12th all time. Now, depending on what you look at, if you go to the NHL record books, I believe they look at there's like a post 19, I can't remember what year it is, but that jumps him up even farther. I think it's like third, fourth, or fifth all time. So it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I didn't realize how good his numbers were. Save percentage of .921, which is fifth all time, and 52 shutouts. Rask made the playoffs in 8 of his 15 NHL seasons, compiling stats of 57 wins, 46 losses, 2.22 goals against, and a .925 save percentage with 7 shutouts in 104 NHL playoff games played.
Okay, wait, Troy. Here's what's impressive to me about that. So he's got a 2.28 career goals against, a .921 career save percentage, and he only made the playoffs 50% of the time.
Yeah,
which means that his team wasn't that great. So he was pretty good on not the best team.
Yeah, and it took him a little while to get going. I didn't get into this, but there's a lot of, like in Boston, there's a lot about his legacy. He's obviously one of the best goaltenders to ever play in Boston. His numbers prove that out. But there's a couple like Stanley Cup final where he actually started and they didn't win. And there's just a lot of, was he not a big game guy or something? There's just some debate about that. And I didn't get into it because it would take too long. All right. So best season of his NHL career. I'm going with this 2013-14 Vezina winning season where Rask had 36 wins, 15 losses, 6 ties with a 2.04 goals against average and a .930 save percentage, and 7 shutouts in 58 regular season games played. So Tuukka is considered one of the best goalies, like I said, in Bruins history, and definitely one of the top Finnish goalies of all time. During his time, as he started with the Bruins, Rask was one of the most successful goalies from a statistics standpoint in the NHL. In addition, as we saw earlier, at the time of his retirement, Rask was one of the best statistical goalies of all time in the NHL. Rask was known for being positionally sound and was seen as a hybrid goalie where he would go down in the butterfly on low shots but remain on his feet for higher shots. Absolutely fantastic goalie. And when I talk about hybrid goalies, now goalies more than 99% of the time go down. They're just butterfly goalies now. It's kind of the new style. And when they're all,
which is why they have to be like 6'8", right?
Yeah, that's like when they're all 6'5", 6'8" now, they can take away all that net even when they go down, which is crazy because we've all seen the videos from the 70s and 80s of these little thin, small guys. Even Hasek was actually big. He was like 6'1", I think. But you get some of these goalies that were just little tiny guys in net. All right, Rask retired on February 9th, 2022, after only playing 4 games after returning from surgery for a torn labrum in his right hip. He is the current leader all time for the Bruins in wins and second in shutouts, and I think he's also maybe games played for the Bruins as a goalie. I might be wrong on that. I'm just trying to remember. Rask is currently an ambassador for the Bruins and has stated in an interview that he plays a lot of golf now. So I am envious.
So he just gets a paycheck for being Tuukka Rask, is what you're saying.
Gets a paycheck, goes play some golf, hang out with the family. But all right, his fun and interesting fact. Nicknames, Josh, Tuukka Time, and the Great Wall. I've seen the Great Wall now like 6 times, so that one's got to go away. No, Hobby Bulin is my Great Wall. I don't know if anyone else gets it.
I was looking ahead at the nicknames, and it made me think, are we in like a huge goalie nickname drought right now?
I don't know.
Because I know there's Officer Bob, but I can't think of another current goalie with a cool nickname. Can you?
Not off the top of my head. I'd have to look them all up, but maybe there's one.
I think that's because we're in a nickname depression, Troy.
We are. We'll have to start this.
Maybe you can do something about that.
Yeah, every episode we'll have to give a nickname and try to hopefully catch us on.
I suppose Flower, but that's kind of like it's just his name, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. The previous mentioned trade of Rask from Toronto to Boston for Andrew Raycroft has been called one of the worst trades in Maple Leafs franchise history. Rask would go on to have many seasons of success with the Bruins, eventually winning a Stanley Cup and a Vezina, while Raycroft would only play 2 seasons for Toronto, putting up less than stellar numbers. So congratulations. Hey, every team's got them. Every team's got a bad trade. You've been around for whatever, 80 years, you're going to have 100 years, you're going to have some bad trades. Rask is the only goaltender in modern NHL history to have not lost a conference finals game playing at least 2 series, posting an 8-0 record with 3 shutouts, a goals against average of .82, and a save percentage of .972. That's pretty impressive. In the 2009-10 regular season, Rask was the only goaltender in the NHL with a goals against average of less than 2, and the only goaltender with a save percentage over .930. Despite having been the only qualifying rookie in NHL history to lead the league with a sub 2.0 goals against average, as well as leading the league in save percentage, and having replaced the Vezina Trophy winner Tim Thomas as the starter in Boston, Rask was not named as a finalist for the Calder Award. Go figure. I tried to find if there was some crazy rule that I didn't know about, and I couldn't find anything else. So if anyone knows if there was a good reason he wasn't, but it seems like he should have been. I can't remember. There was a goalie that was a finalist, and now I can't remember his name. I should have wrote it down. But it wasn't anyone special. But it's pretty crazy that Rask had those numbers and was not named a finalist. And then our last fun fact, in February of 2015, a recently discovered species of wasp in Kenya was named, Thalamadorhinus tuukka as a direct reference to Rask. The reasoning given by the authors was, this species is named after the acrobatic goaltender for the Finnish national ice hockey team and the Boston Bruins, whose glove hand is as tenacious as the raptorial foretarsus of this Dryanid species. There we go.
I'm just impressed that you stuck to the bit on that one.
Listen, truth and fairness, I was from Wikipedia. So who knows if someone just put that in to see if some idiot on a Hockey Card podcast would read it like I did, but that's what it said. All right, Josh.
You're named after a bug, or you had a bug named after you. What bug do you think you would want named after you?
I have no clue. I don't know. I like a praying mantis would be cool. Like some offshoot of that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. His rookie card for Tuukka Rask. 2007, Upper Deck, number 456, Young Guns. If you're watching on YouTube, it's on the screen. PSA 10 has a pop of 111 with a gem rate of 47%. There are 2 recent sales of this card in November via eBay and verified at Terapeak. One for $130 and the other for $161. All-time high was $407 via PWCC on May 26th of 2021. So still pretty attainable. Yeah, it's a great card. I do like his pads. I love the design on them and everything. They're really nice.
Yeah. Well, good job, Tuukka Rask.
Tuukka.
We made it. Another almost greatest player to wear the jersey number of our episode, which is number 40, of course. And now we're going to move on, like we do every Monday, with Who's Hot in the Struggle Bus. So it is Monday. That means it's our time for weekly review of the players ripping up the NHL in the past week or two. And then, Troy, the world's most famous struggle bus featuring players that can't find a way to score, or maybe in case of a goalie stops and pucks. So we're looking through week 8 already, which is crazy, in the start to the NHL season. And we're going to start with Who's Hot like we usually do. Now, here's a guy we avoided all last year, but we could have just mailed the whole segment in, Troy, and made all of last season put Connor McDavid on Who's Hot, because he basically led the league in everything, right, from beginning to end, game 1 through 82. The season did not start out so well for him or his team. As we've talked about in previous episodes, they're already on coach number 2. They would be on goaltender number 12 if they could find that many, but I think they're on still, well, they got rid of 1, so they're technically on goaltender probably number 2 with Stuart Skinner. And then to boot, McDavid experienced an upper body injury on October 21st that had sidelined him for a few games and undoubtedly hampered his production to start the season. Now, do you like when I get in some like weird random idea when I'm preparing for the show and spend way too much time creating like a Brady Bunch type photo of Connor
I was going to
McDavid?
ask if you created this, or did you like find it somewhere? And I was like, it had to be created. Like no one else is going to do something like this.
No, I found all 8 photos of headshots of Connor McDavid, and I don't know why, but probably could have been using my time in a lot better ways. Well, fast forward, Troy. Now the Oilers are still currently in 6th place in the Pacific Division with 19 points and at 9-12-1 record. But McDavid must be feeling better, and he's certainly found a spark because in the past 2 weeks, nobody in the NHL has more points. Over that span, McDavid has 4 goals, 12 assists for 16 points in 7 games played. So this is more of the McDavid, I think, that we're used to. And if you remember a couple weeks ago, he's something like 91st or something like that on the season leaderboard for points. Well, he's shot up already to 12th.
Wow.
So again, he's big jump in a couple weeks. For the season now, he has 8 goals, 21 assists for 29 points in 20 games played. So he's tied for 5th in the NHL in assists, but he's still, Troy, just tied for 54th right now in goals. He's producing points, but he still has not found that McDavidian or whatever goals scoring touch yet. So if you look at his goals pace as of right now, he's pacing for something like 32 or 33 goals on the season, and that's coming off of like 64 last year. And it's a Hubertoian drop, do we call that, right? If he doesn't pick up the pace, shots fired.
Wait, if I had my button bar, I'd make a Huberto button. Like that's
When are we getting that, Troy?
I totally forgot about it. I gotta order it.
Yeah.
Well, I keep waiting because I want to go. Listen, this is something I want to get and play with right away. So when I went to Micro Center and they were out of the one I wanted, so I keep looking at the website to see when it comes in. But no, obviously I have an Amazon warehouse. Amazon. Well, I got Amazon warehouse distribution center. 5 miles down the road? Stuff gets here usually in a day. But that's me. I'll do it tonight if I remember.
Back to McDavid. All seems right in the world when McDavid's putting up points again and nearing the top of the NHL leaderboard. But for me, Troy, the key question at this point is, can he and Leon and friends do enough at this point to squeak into the playoffs, or is it over, Johnny, for the Oilers already this year? I kind of wanted to see what other people were, like the big writers, were saying about that. And it seems like the pundits' consensus right now is it's about 50-50 whether the Oilers can make the playoffs or not, which kind of seems like a miracle at this point. It amazes me they're still in it, but it's way better for the hobby and for the league that they are, so I'm happy about that. Connor McDavid, Troy, is a 2015-16 Young Guns. His PSA 10 popped 2,740, has a 49% gem rate, last sold for $2,275 on December 1st. Down about 8% in the past 2 weeks, and still down 22% in the past 2 months. It feels cheaper than I remember it in a long time.
Yeah, it does seem cheaper it does seem cheaper than it has been in a long time. It's still a lot of money for just a high pop, but obviously one of the greatest players. He's got to win his cup.
Yeah, I don't follow it that closely because I'm not really interested in the card. I like you with 2,740 PSA 10s and another 7,500 BGS 9.5s.
Yeah,
it doesn't do a lot for me given how much it costs, but
agree.
All right, you got the next guy who's hot.
All right, I do. So next we have this guy, Connor Ingram. I love this jersey. I found a practice jersey one. That's a little different. I usually find game jerseys, but I love this picture. All right, so over the past week, Ingram has been on fire in the nets for Arizona. Now, why would I find a picture with him in Arizona? No, because I like this Nashville picture better, so I put it in there. So this past week, Ingram started 3 games, and he went 3-0 with a 1.3 goals against average, .958 save percentage with 1 shutout. On the year, Ingram has actually been really good, putting up 9 wins, 3 losses with a 2.52 goals against average, a .922 save percentage with 1 shutout in 13 games played. So Josh, Ingram, he's one of our typical late bloomer goaltenders. He's currently 26 years old and playing like an all-star. He has only been in the NHL since the 21-22 season, making his NHL debut at age 24. So like we said with goalies, a lot of times you don't get the 18, 19-year-old goalie. They come in 24, 25, 26. There's obvious exceptions. Our boy Ottinger was a little bit younger when he came in. So Ingram made his NHL debut with Nashville, only appearing in 3 games with Nashville in the 21-22 season, where he went 1-2 with a 3.71 goals against average and a .879 save percentage before being sent back down to the AHL. The Predators decided to waive Ingram with the intention of him going back to the AHL, as they had Jussi Saros and Yaroslav Askarov in the system. And to be honest, it seems like they thought he would clear waivers. Guess what? That didn't happen as Arizona saw that and claimed him. So good move by Arizona. See, Nashville tried to pull a sneaky one, and Arizona grabbed him. And actually, you look at Ingram's AHL stats, I didn't write him down. He's like an AHL legend. He's got some really good numbers in the AHL, and it seems like it's finally translating to the pros with Arizona. You think it's like he found the right fit. You listen to Arizona GM, and even when they got him, he didn't start out well. It was pretty rough his first 7 or 8 starts, but they still liked what they saw and had faith in him, kept kind of working with him, and now he's kind of turned into a really decent goaltender. And
now
he's
got to Karel Vejmelka or whatever.
He's the backup right now, I think.
Oh.
So Ingram right now is kind of the starter. I think they've played pretty even games, but Ingram's been getting the most recent starts lately, if I remember right, looking at the game log. So Connor Ingram, his rookie card, is a 2020 Young Guns, number 223, PSA 10. Josh has a pop of 28 with a gem rate of 53%. Obviously, there's not going to be a whole lot of sales, with the most recent verified sale I could find in eBay via Terapeak was for a whopping $26 US on October 15th of this year.
I don't like the picture on this card.
Yeah. Speaking of Connor Ingram, I won't have time. There is one. When I was looking for a picture for him, he has one, like it's just a player profile picture, but his hair's like a mess. It just looks like he woke up out of bed. It's hilarious. I don't know if it's Mason McTavish UD portrait good, but it's pretty good.
All right. Well, the last player we're going to feature on Who's Hot this week is another guy who's not in like the Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid vein. So it's kind of cool to be able to highlight some of these other players. It's the Jake Neighbors, the young 21-year-old Blues forward. Troy, listen to this. Has scored more goals in the past 2 weeks than any other player in the NHL.
Wow.
He has 6 goals and 1 assist for 7 points in 7 games played. Which is good because prior to that stretch, he'd had a pretty rough start to 2023-24, where he only had 3 points in the first 16 games played. So on the season, that puts Neighbors then at 9 goals, 1 assist for 10 points in 23 total games. So 9 goals, 1 assist, puck hog. Is that what we're thinking?
That's our total. This is our definition of a puck hog right here.
His 9 goals on the season, though, leads the Blues. So not only did he have, that's a heck of a stretch where he now leads the team in goals for the year, or they're not scoring enough. Probably a combination of the both. Last season, Jake played 43 games with the Blues and scored a paltry 6 goals and finished with 10 points. So he's already matched last year's total in 20 games less. A positive sign, I suppose, if you're a Blues fan. And I think to this point, Neighbors has been more of a bottom 6 contributor. But as of late, he's been elevated to the top line for the Blues and also their first power play unit, and is providing them which is providing him some more scoring opportunities. I found a quote from the other day from Blues captain Braden Shen. He said of Neighbors' play as of late, it's not just the goals, it's the little things, Shen said. He's blocking shots, winning battles, playing a team game, and that's a guy, when he comes in the lineup, he can play anywhere, and he's getting a chance in the top 6, first line, and he's making the most of it. I'm extremely happy for him. A lot of cliches in there, but it's
I was just going to say, I want to see the guy that says he's playing an individual game and just being the puck hog that we love. No, I don't even know if he's a puck hog.
Pass the puck.
Yeah, pass the puck, 9 goals and 1 assist.
Yeah. Well, okay, so he's getting his chance. We're seeing this a lot now this year in the NHL, whether it's Alexis Lafreniere or Jake Neighbors, some of these other guys, that they're getting moved up in the lineup to get a little bit better opportunity, and they're producing a bit. Well, let's see if this recent on ice success has translated to the hobby. Jake Neighbors, Troy, is a 2021 Young Guns, PSA 10, popped 291. 67% gem rate, last sold for $47 US on December 2nd. It is up 43% in the past 2 weeks. So, well, that's not bad. No. Now, his raw Young Guns still about $4, but up from about $1 a couple of weeks ago. So, 4x increase from $1 to $4. And if he does keep scoring, we might all have to pause our lives a little bit and dive into our boxes. And I love that there's like one of my favorite things about the hockey season and being a hockey card collector. Like last year, it was a couple of guys like Akira Schmid. Remember when he went on that run where everyone just dived into their boxes and it's like, I have 3, that you
Well,
had completely
I know
forgot about.
I'm sure I have a Jake Neighbors. I'm pretty sure I do. I'm looking through my gap. I have one. I actually have 2 Young Guns of his.
There you go. Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see if I dive into the boxes or will I just leave them.
Yeah, I'd probably leave them till the moment passes. That's what I do.
Yeah.
There it is, Troy. Pulled up, ready to roll,
Yep.
ready to accept some new players. The struggle bus is here. We're going to let you go first today. And who are you putting on the struggle bus for week 8 of the NHL season?
All right. And maybe this isn't fair because their team stinks lately, but hey, John Gibson, he's found his way onto the struggle bus. Hate to put a goalie on there, but he is definitely deserving of it. Things have been pretty rough for Gibby the past couple of weeks. In the past 2 weeks, Gibson has played in 6 games, putting up a stat line of 0 wins, 5 losses, with a 3.86 goals against average, a .863 save percentage, and no shutouts. Like I said, things have been rough, but let's be honest, Anaheim isn't the world's greatest team. As of the time I wrote this last night, they have lost, or I did this Friday, they've lost 9 games in a row as of Friday, December 1st. But they do need Gibson to help out a little bit and put up some better numbers than he is right now.
And can I do a little tangent? Sticking with Anaheim here for a second. We might have to create an all new special category for Trevor Zegras at this point.
Yeah,
it is rough, dude.
Yeah.
These people that spent like $5,000 on Trevor Zegras cards, I feel very bad for them right now. Because have you seen all the memes, like all the goalies with more points than Trevor Zegras?
Oh, jeez. Yes, I did see that. That was, hey, and speaking of goalie, we don't talk about it. Tristan Jarry got a goalie goal the other night. That was awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
So, all right, back to Johnny Gibson. Whole season's kind of been a challenge. In 16 games, Gibson has 4 wins, 10 losses with a 2.80 goals against average and a .906 save percentage and no shutouts. So those aren't the worst numbers for goals against and save percentage. They're high and low, or high for goals against and low, little lowish for save percentage, but they're serviceable. But again, it's Anaheim. And remember, during the summer, if you remember this, Josh, there was kind of some rumors floating around that Gibson wanted out of Anaheim and that he kind of said, I'm never playing for Anaheim again. Again, these were rumors, probably unsubstantiated because Gibson came out and denied him. But man, you just think at some point maybe Anaheim just throws it in and maybe see if they can move him, try to get something. He's a vet. He's been around for a while, but we'll see. It just seems the whole Ducks situation is blowing up, kind of how you mentioned with Zegras, and I'm not sure what else they can do right now besides kind of implode the team and look towards next year. But they're not. I think they're like 9-14 something. I can't remember. That's what I'm.
They're bad. You know what the saving grace is, though? That Leo Carlson's been awesome.
Yeah. Don't touch him. You start your rebuild around him, and maybe Zegras if you can figure out his whole thing. All right, so Gibson, 2013 Young Guns, PSA 10 pop is 87 with a gem rate of 71%. Card does not sell a lot. Last sale was for $37 via eBay and verified in Terapeak in August. Well, that was dumb. I put the last sale. I didn't even put the date. I'm going to say October. Sometime in the recent, I'll say a month. In August, the card did sell for around $46, so it has dropped a bit since then. But again, not a lot of sales. If you want this card, you can go find it probably for a good deal, even though there's not that many out there.
Not the most inspiring Ducks jersey of all time either there in 2013.
No, and it's just sad with the helmet, just the white helmet. Yeah. Looking like a Bantam player in this picture.
All right, Troy, for our last guy on the struggle bus, or second guy on the struggle bus, this could be a little controversial.
Ooh.
Maybe it's unfair to a certain extent to put a 19-year-old rookie like Adam Fantilli on the struggle bus, just 25 games into his career, but here we are, Troy. It's happening. So through those 25 games, Fantilli has produced 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points. In the past couple of weeks, though, he has 2 points in his most recent 7 games played. His 5 goals, 6 assists on the season puts him at an 82-game pace of 16 goals and 36 points. He's currently 10th in the rookie scoring leaders race and tied for 5th in rookie goal leaderboard. Is that horrible? No. But here's where I think he's earned his seat on the struggle bus, because it just feels like he hasn't matched expectations to this point in, well, producing points. There were people that were making the case coming into the year that he could win the Calder over Bedard. And you never know. He still could, because there's a lot of games left, number one. So let's not close the book here this year on Adam Fantilli. But I think there's also a logical case for it. He had just come off an amazing freshman campaign at Michigan where he put up 30 goals, 35 assists for 65 points in 36 games played, earning the Hobie Baker Award. Became Troy just the third freshman in history to win that award, along with Jack Eichel and Paul Kariya. So while I would definitely say he's not a bust or anything like that, it's not exactly taking the league by storm either. So I don't know. I mean, do you think that that's fair? Do you think that would 16 goals and 36 points on the season, would that match expectations for Adam Fantilli? I just don't think so.
Yeah, I think I'd want it a little higher. I think like in the 50 range. But hey, if it's 36, it's 36. You're young. Build off it. Get mad. Maybe have a rumor float about your family so you get ticked off and go off like Bedard has.
Their whole team is kind of a mess. It hasn't been a great start. They're benching their veterans. As I was prepping for this and then another Blues guy, we're talking about Hobby News. I guess like they're changing their lines like every day, and they're just trying to find something that works there.
And it all started with Babcock even before the season and got going, or start just when it started. Babs doing Babs things, and the Blue Jackets are kind of trying to figure it out still.
So Adam Fantilli does not yet have a Young Guns, of course, but it's presumed he'll be a big chase in Series 2. So at this point, if you're shopping for his cards, mostly what sells are Team Canada Juniors cards, and kind of the fringe NHL stuff like Game Dated Moments, Tops Now stickers. But we got to have something. So I'm going to feature the top publicly selling Adam Fantilli card to date. This card's kind of cool if you're watching on YouTube. It's a 2022 Upper Deck Team Canada Juniors clear cut acetate that sold, or clear cut acetate exclusives that sold back in April for $745 US. And if you kind of zoom in, Troy, and you look at the facial expression,
he's like,
looks like he just found out he's on the struggle bus, doesn't he?
Sounds like he. Okay, here's my thing. Is this the eBay picture?
Yeah.
It's like he just found out that he's being held by giant hands in his eBay picture. He's like, this is scary. But yeah,
note to sellers out there: don't do this. Your card in hand to post on eBay. And what bugs me about these pictures the most is this is the highest selling card of all time. So it's not like you can say there's a punishment for doing it, because people like that take these photos get rewarded all the time.
Well, maybe he's doing it to show it's acetate, right? Because I can see his hands behind it. Sometimes you just put an acetate on a black background, you can't tell.
Yeah, fair enough. But have that be like a second picture.
Yeah.
Take like a normal photo maybe first.
Yeah.
So for week 8, that wraps up Who's Hot in the Struggle Bus. On Who's Hot, we had Connor McDavid, Connor Ingram, and Jake Neighbors. And then struggling this week were John Gibson and Adam Fantilli. Okay, Troy, I got to make a quick mention for Gongshow partner and sponsor Slab Sharks. Of course, we are super grateful to them for their support of our show. The current weekly Slab Sharks eBay auction is live, so be sure to go to slabsharks.com for a link to the auction so you can place your bids and not miss out on maybe the next PC edition or even a Grail piece, because they have just awesome cards now every single week in their auction. I spent some time Saturday morning, which was yesterday for us, and as I like to do, kind of drooling over the Slab Sharks auction, and here's a couple of cards that you all can bid on and win, and then send to me because you want to. Just kidding. So these are the cards that I think are just awesome in this week's auction. There's a 2015-16 SP Authentic Connor McDavid Future Watch Auto out of $9.99, BGS 910, a true gem mint. So pretty special McDavid Future Watch Auto there. One of my favorite designs for Future Watch Autos. I just think this is a very sharp card.
Yep. Yep, looks great.
And if you like Future Watch Autos, why not pair that one with the 2005-06 SB Authentic Sidney Crosby
No.
Future Watch Auto out of $9.99? So which design do you like better between the 2015 and the 2005?
Oh, this one way better. The 15, the McDavid design. Like
Me too.
I don't like the picture. I don't want a helmetless profile shot. Like I want an action photo like this. Oops, sorry, like this.
Oh.
But Sidney Crosby's auto is still just amazing every time I see it.
You just hinted at it on YouTube, but I love limited logos a lot. And this 2006-07, the Cup, Alexander Ovechkin limited logos out of 50. Pretty amazing card. Love
Lots
that
of
patch.
breaks.
Yeah, what is that? 6? 5?
1, 2, 3, 4. I'd call it 5, I guess.
It's pretty amazing. Good auto. Kind of a cool card. Really like it. Now, here's a pretty card that I had never seen before. 2013-14 Ultimate Collection Mario Lemieux Ultimate Autograph Threads Patch Auto out of 10.
Wow.
Like that patch.
Yeah.
Or if you don't go call him Mario Lemieux, you can be like me and call him Oli Lefsa. Because for anyone that's on YouTube, look at that auto and just tell me that doesn't look more like Oli Lefsa than Mario Lemieux.
We're going to keep going. We're convinced it's Oli Lefsa.
Yeah. That's who he signs, has to sign all his cards. Okay, then lastly, why not throw in an amazing card, Troy, of Lemieux's longtime teammate, Jaromir Jagr, in this 2017-18 Splendor bordered patch auto out of 11. Pretty cool card. I like these Splendor cards.
Yeah, looks nice. I actually dig the red. I think that looks nice.
Condition nightmare, I'm sure, for Grady.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can already tell. Look at the corners and edges, but hey, that's what you're gonna get with these.
So these are just a few of the amazing cards, of course, in this week's auction. Be sure to check them all out for yourself at slabsharks.com. And if you're a Canadian hockey card collector, maybe looking to move some cards for cash, Troy and I would recommend Slab Sharks for their eBay consignment services. They take all the hassle out of selling your cards on eBay, all of it. They take awesome photos, of course. They list your cards, answer buyer questions, hunt down payment from winners, ship the cards to US and Canada, and most importantly, handle post-sale issues. You just relax and I guess wait for the money to roll in. Not a bad deal there. For complete consignment information, info, including payout rates, and to get started consigning your cards today, head to slabsharks.com.
Yeah,
Hobby
news.
Michael Rubin, Troy, was on Bill Simmons' podcast. Did you by chance listen or no?
I didn't listen, but like I was like, this is like the first time I've looked at his picture. I probably couldn't have picked him out in a room, but yeah, I'm guessing it was good. It's on my list of things. I even have it starred in my podcast app, but I haven't got around to it.
Wow. Maybe on the way to Rochester today. You can bore your son to death by listening to.
No, I'll have to hear about the Eminem concert that was in Fortnite because he was all excited about that last night.
Oh, jeez. So, like I said, Bill Simmons had him on his podcast. It is definitely worth a listen to. I would encourage everyone to do it. And while the entire conversation wasn't completely centered on the sports card side of the Fanatics business, it did talk about the collectibles division a fair amount. Now, again, does it exactly what Fanatics is doing relate to hockey? Of course, no, because they don't own the hockey licensing or produce
stickers. Right now, it's stickers, right? That's the only thing they'd be involved in.
Yeah, it stops now. But it really, in listening to it, I think it's a very much so a breath of fresh air, just in how much innovation he and his company is trying to bring into the collectibles space. So here's some of the highlights, Troy, I want to run by you and maybe get your feedback on. So his goal, and we heard this right away.
Yeah.
It was the stated goal. He wanted to eliminate redemptions. And he said that when he bought the company, he didn't know what a redemption was. And when someone explained it to him, he's like, well, this stinks. Why would anyone want this?
Yeah.
What he said to Bill Simmons is that in the last year, they've had about 1,000 redemptions, which is down from 30,000 the year prior.
That's
a 97% reduction.
Do you think Panini's at like 100? I bet Panini has over 100,000 active redemptions. I swear that company.
Oh, maybe.
I have redemptions that are sitting on 4 years, and that's not even that long from Panini. There's people out there that have 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. It's crazy.
Then he told the story about I think as an example of how he's able to leverage his relationships
Yeah.
with athletes and the leagues and how that's been able to benefit their collectible side and Tops in particular. So, as an example, he told the story of those MLB debut patches that we've talked about a lot, right? Where
Yep.
there's a special patch sewn into the jersey of every MLB player for their first game. Then that patch is removed and then put into a special one-of-one card. And he said it was the idea of Fanatics Collectibles CEO Mike Mahan, I think his name is. And right away, Rubin loved the idea. And he said, "Let's go do it." Mahan then said, went to Tops, and it was really funny. He's like, or he conveyed that Tops is like, "This could never happen. This
I
is
don't know who at
impossible."
Top said that, because are they still there? Because
I don't know. I don't know.
that's one of those things where if you say it can never happen, and then the CEO goes and does it, that doesn't look good. You might be looking for a new job.
I think part of that though is just an indication of the whole collectibles industry that I think
Yeah.
in some ways is just kind of stuck in the mud a little bit
Yep.
and just used to the same old, same old. And so Ruben was like, "What do you mean this is impossible?" So he called up the MLB PA himself, and of course used his relationship
Yep.
and pitched the idea to them. And they're like, "That's an amazing idea. You guys make the jerseys anyways. Let's do it." Right? Because
Yep.
that's another thing. Because they make the jersey, they can sew the patch on and then have somebody there to take it off after the game too. And again, I love how that it's just to me a great story about how he's not willing to just rest with the status quo and wants to push innovation. Then, in kind of like, I want to maybe skip ahead a little bit because in sort of a related thing that make where you use these MLB patch card 101 cards as an example, he said that now Fanatics is starting to put a chip in all their high end cards to make sure that they can't be counterfeited.
That's interesting. I'll have to listen to it, because it's like, how does that stop a patch from being swapped? Or,
Yeah, I don't know, but
but
I
I know,
think
I
though
get it.
that
I like it. It's doing something to try to stop counterfeiting.
maybe it prevents more duplicates or reprints
Maybe.
or fake ones that are made,
Yeah.
something like that. But I just thought that was interesting. He on the he said one of the things that they've received a lot of criticism on in is that there seems to be like a general mistrust of how the cards are distributed and how the hits are distributed, right? There's the whole backyard breaks gets all the hot boxes sort of deal,
Yeah.
right? So he said to um that they hired Deloitte and Touche to audit all the distribution of their cards, like you would a lottery, to make sure that the distribution is completely fair. And what I really liked about that is he kind of said, you can't be so defensive when people make accusations like that. You have to take that for what it is, and that it's somebody that's questioning the integrity of how you distribute your products, and not in a way that makes you upset or but kind of look at it from their perspective and be like, well, yeah, if this is what I visually see, I might have that question too. So let's not get all grumpy about it. Let's hire a firm and essentially so that we can prove without a shadow of a doubt that we're not stuffing hits into boxes for certain people. So I just liked his mindset in that regard because you see a lot of whether it's be people in real life or a lot of companies get their tendencies to get more defensive when challenged.
Yeah. The only thing I can come back at that is, if you're the one paying for this, I kind of already, it's like drug companies paying for research on their drugs to show that they're great. So there's
Maybe.
that. I don't know how you get around that. If we don't have an industry like watchdog, we don't have a standards board or anything like that in the hobby. So it's a step in the right direction. I'd like to see other people join this kind of movement, like Panini, maybe Upper Deck. But again, it's a good first step to combat stuff like that, and it's to their
Isn't
benefit,
there
right?
something though, like with big time auditing firms like Deloitte and Touche that because I know like on like as for like a tax because companies will hire their own tax auditors too. But
And then they get in
when
trouble
you
because they won't
hire
they
well
won't
when
tell
you
them that
hire
they're
an
wrong.
auditor, they're accepting or culpability if they're found out that like the audit was wrong or miscalculated, or if they were nefarious in some way working with the company that hired them. So there is kind of a mechanism that's built into that to protect that from saying, hey, I'm going to hire you, but make us look good, fudge the numbers
I
type
mean,
thing.
in
It's
theory,
like,
that's how it's supposed to work, right? But how many times have we seen that? Enron, any of those big sixes, they probably all have been
maybe
scandals, and they never get punished. They fine them some
it's
little
true.
paltry amount, and what is it? One person, two people went to jail over Enron, over thousands of people's retirements ruined. Yeah, but I get the sentiment's correct. Yes, I get it.
Yeah. Then the last thing that really stood out to me was he talked a lot about how, frankly, he doesn't see the benefit of distribution. And I felt like he made a pretty compelling case because I haven't really seen the benefit either. Again, but or outside of the fact of it lets, like in the case of Upper Deck or Panini or Topps, just sell all their product out at once and not have to worry about selling or fulfilling any orders. But so what Rubin said is that it takes money out of the hobby. It just a third party that grabs a big chunk of the pie. He said it takes profits away from local card shops, and then it takes money away from athletes. He said one of the reasons why we've been able to pay athletes more for autographs is because this company that's taking this layer that's taking half the profits out, we've removed. And now that frees up more money to pay athletes. He said that Topps went from 300 direct relationships with local card shops to over 800 now. So I know that speaks to me.
Yeah. Did he say if they've completely cut out distributors now, or that's what they're working towards?
Trying to remember. I think that's their intent.
Okay. I was just curious if they've done it because I know they've cut off some of the big, like there's the 3 or 4 of them. I know they've cut off one for sure. But yeah, that's interesting. It takes money. There needs to be another bullet here. It takes money away from fanatics.
Yeah.
Because then they can get pricing power and all that fun stuff.
Sure. If there's 40% more margin gained and you take 5% more margin and spread the rest around, then to me, that's a win-win. Like I said, though, the interview is definitely worth it. I think that his aggressiveness in solving some of the problems in the hobby and his innovative approach will push a company like Upper Deck to do the same because competition's good. When Upper Deck sees baseball cards doing all these kind of cool new things or football cards as soon as they get it, you'd have to assume, right, that some of that's going to trickle in onto the hockey side too.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, definitely.
The next story, Troy, is there was an announcement just a couple days ago between eBay and COMC, where there's a new partnership where eBay is going to be investing a little bit in the COMC platform. Now, there was a news release that went out in a bunch of social media posts, etc., that kind of made a big deal of it.
I gotta look at your photo. If you're watching on YouTube, best friends forever. eBay and COMC.
eBay and COMC, best friends forever. I read the press release and it was a lot of words, a lot of buzzwords. Nothing that really explained what's going to happen.
Synergy? Was there a lot of synergy in this thing?
Our aim is to leverage synergistic relationships and take a holistic approach to creating a harmonious relationship between the collector and the community and reducing friction in ways to enhance your collection and experience in the hobby. Right? Yeah. It was like basically crap like that. So they're best friends forever. Reading between the lines and gushing quotes from eBay and COMC, I'm assuming the investment has to do with COMC hopefully upping their technology game a little bit, like maybe a new website or user experience. I mean, their website works. I've used it a bunch. It works fine. But I don't think it's been changed since before the birth of my 18-year-old son. I'm pretty confident.
The greatest use case in that is Amazon. That site is horrible. But Amazon, they just don't change it. It works, and they make billions. But COMC's site is something else, man. I go out there and have frustrations with it.
And then I think you can maybe also assume that there will be better integration between COMC and eBay, like easier to maybe list your cards on eBay right from COMC, that sort of thing. One nugget, though, that I did find pretty interesting from the press release is that COMC said it has 300 employees, which is maybe more than you would think, but a 200,000 square foot warehouse. They got a lot of A lot of speckled rainbow young guns sitting in their warehouse, huh?
Yeah, and it's
But,
I said I never knew I'd go into the show mentioning the Amazon distribution center twice. That's bios, but I think that one's like a 200,000 square foot. So now I have a pretty good idea. That's huge
wow.
for how big that is.
Yeah. Now, for hockey collectors, I think this news is maybe even a little bit more interesting because of the whole ePack integration to begin with. So we might be able to go soon from ePack to COMC to grading because they've been incorporating more grading partnerships into COMC as well, and then right into an eBay auction without ever touching a card.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about that and stuff that you're looking to like get rid of or not PC, and all the shipping that would be involved to buying a car in ePack, shipping it to yourself, then shipping it to grading, shipping it back to you, shipping it, you're listing on eBay and then shipping it again, that's a ton of money that is just blown in that whole process. And so to be able to go directly from ePack to COMC to ship or to grading to eBay would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So thoughts, you think it's a good thing, or is it just
I gotta see what comes out of it. Yeah, it's impossible to tell. Like you said, that press release was kind of some fluff, but let's see what happens.
In more, I guess, tangible eBay news, this one's really interesting to me. So I just noticed this when I placed a bid on a card.
Yeah.
And I honestly have not, I've been such a My Card Post Bobo, which of course I love, and we're grateful to them for their sponsorship, but I haven't bought a lot on eBay in a long time. And there's a card I had my eye on, and I was at, this is actually my screen. That's why I blacked out all my privacy information. But they're now doing automatic checkout when you bid on auctions and win cards, and for like offers that you submit via Buy It Now as well, which to me is all sorts of awesome. I'm like really, really, really happy about that because we've talked a lot about the comp issue with eBay listings that are completed but go unpaid and then become quote unquote sales that matriculate down to eBay sales history, 130 point market movers, card ladder, like forever, like those. And it, even when, of course, when they're never paid, and it's just a nightmare, right? And this happens so often. We've been talking about this for weeks, but now you have a system where you're basically agreeing when you place a bid to say, yo, if you win, just make sure that or just let you know we're hitting your card right away. You're paying for this, bro. I think it's great news. I think it has a chance to really dramatically reduce the cases of unpaid listings. Might help with show bidding too, right? Are you gonna be so apt to show bid if that show might end up having to automatically pay for it? Because the problem with all this right now is you can just bid whatever you want, and there's almost little to no consequences for saying, I don't want to pay for it.
Is this an opt-in? Do I have to opt into it, or are they doing it? Okay. I was thinking for like the negative impact, you just make sure you watch what you bid, because we've all done it. I've done it where I accidentally bid. I think it was like I was trying to put 150 and I just put 1,500, and I didn't realize it until I think I won. And obviously, whatever, I was under 150, so I won it. But if you don't pay attention and somehow it bids you up way past what you wanted, you just got to watch that. Make sure you verify what you bid. Be smart about that so you don't get hit with like a $3,000 charge at some point.
You're talking about the whole megabit thing that part of me dies every time I say that that word. Yeah, I don't know if it's just in the US or if it's hit Canada too. I found one article. I couldn't find a lot about this, and it was from August. I think the middle of August, when it was starting to get known that they were rolling this out and testing it. And so I think the assumption was that they were going to test it in the US first and then roll it out. But so in general, are you a fan of it? Do you think it's a good thing?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
Anything to stop
the madness, man.
Stop the nightmare of like or unpaid and shilled and all that stuff.
So I've got a new little segment, Troy, that we're gonna, I think, do occasionally in Hobby News. It's calling it News and Notes, just very quick hitting things. from the NHL world that affect the hockey hobby. It feels kind of newsy, right? So you could be Barbara Walters, Troy, and I'll be Hugh Downs. So there's a 80s news reference that ages us dramatically.
There you go.
And makes us look super old. Okay, first story, news and notes. Notable 2022-23 rookie Kent Johnson has been recalled to the Columbus Blue Jackets from the AHL. He had been sent packing back to the Cleveland Monsters on November 3rd for what the team had said was to get stronger and reclaim some offensive confidence.
Shoot the puck.
Prior to,
That's how I read it.
Yeah. Prior to being sent down, he had a goal and 2 assists for 3 points in 9 games played. Pretty much ripped it up in Cleveland, Troy. 5 goals, 10 assists for 15 points in 10 games played during that stint. He did come back. He's played 1 game versus Ottawa, which was 2 nights ago on Friday night. Was pointless in 12.5 minutes of ice time. Had 1 shot, but he's back with the Blue Jackets. And Kent Johnson is a 2022-23 Young Guns PSA 10 pop, 296, 34% gem rate. Last sold for $94 on November 26th, up about 18% since the start of November. So maybe a strong play in the AHL was driving up his values a little bit. Yep. Not so great news, Troy. Alex Newhook, the promising bounce back season for Newhook, hit a massive snag. Let's call it that. The 22-year-old centerman for your Montreal Canadiens, Troy, will miss 10 to 12 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Sounds like he went crashing into the net during the Canadiens' 5-1 loss to the Florida Panthers last Thursday and messed up his ankle. In 23 games played on the season, Newhook has 7 goals, 6 assists for 13 points. He was pacing significantly ahead of last season when he was at the Avalanche, where he had only scored 14 goals and had 30 points in 82 games played. So bummer they've had a lot of injury issues in Montreal so far this year.
Yeah.
And then Alex Newhook is a 2021 Young Guns PSA 10 pop 751. Jeez. 60% gem rate. Last sold for $41 on December 2nd. It is down about 28% in the past month. Can't imagine it goes up.
Didn't we have, or did you have an exquisite card of Newhook? Was that Newhook that you pulled?
I think it's both of ours, yeah.
Is it both of ours?
We share it.
We share it. We pass it.
Oh, yeah. That's a bummer. Just thought of that. Oh, man. Well, hopefully it comes back.
Yeah.
And then lastly, trying news and notes, very, very quick Patty Kane update. Looks like he could end up playing his first game with the Wings as early as Tuesday.
All right.
So it'll be fun to see how that goes. So look out for hopefully Tuesday, maybe a day or two later for the debut of Patrick Kane. All right, Troy. Are you ready? Are you excited about this next segment? It's your favorite topic.
I'm excited to listen to you explain PMGs, and it's now the time. Or are they?
Yeah. So you're a big PMG fan, I know, but it is something I've just noticed over the past 3 or 4 months that the PMG market, short for, of course, precious metal gems, the insert and skybox metal, has taken what seemed to be a huge hit, like a big time hit. And they were on fire. Like if you go back to the pandemic, we'll call it the pandemic era, like there were record prices everywhere. And like I said, it just seems like they've taken a huge hit. So I even remember, I'm not going to name names because it's not fair, but when I was at the expo, where we were at the expo for the first time, I was hanging out at somebody's booth, and another person came up to the person's table or booth I was at, and the person had, I think it was like a green Gretzky PMG, and this person offered the seller a crazy amount of money for this card. Like I want to say it was like 70 to 90,000 and the person that was the seller or potential seller turned it down.
Okay.
And at the time I wanted to jump in and be like, listen, I'll sell one of my kids for 90 grand. I got 2, right? You got 1 extra one. But the weird thing is as I kind of reflected on it and back to that time, I don't think it was that crazy, Troy, for the seller to turn down, because those cards were they were just skyrocketing. They kept going up, up, and up. And so we often fall into that trap here in the hobby. I think the seller just assumed, well, geez, if I sell for 90,000, what happens if it's worth, 150,000 a year from now, that sort of thing. But if you've been even a casual observer of the PMG market, over the past 6-8 months, it's, like I said, taken a pretty big hit. And I know too the entire market is down, but I just had felt like that the PMG decline was outpacing the decline of the market as a whole. And so what I wanted to start the conversation and ultimately to answer the question, are these things dead, or is actually maybe now a good time to buy in the hopes that the market will recover at some point and you could do well on them? So I got 4 examples just to maybe illustrate how far it's dropped. The first one is a 2012-13 Fleer Retro Gretzky Red PMG. Very iconic card in the hobby. These are out of 100, of course. So the high sale for any copy of this card to date was a BGS 8 Troy that sold for $13,255 US on May 16th, 2022. A year later, on May 7th, 2023, a BGS 8.5, so a graded 0.5 higher.
Wow.
Sold for $2,640 US. So that's almost more than 6 times less?
Yeah.
Something like that. Most recently, a PSA 7. So you have to do kind of like the mental translation between a BGS 8 and a PSA 7. Sold for $1,830 US on September 28th. That's a huge drop.
Yeah, that's massive.
And it's Wayne Gretzky. His career's done. He's still the all-time leading goal scorer. He's still considered the greatest player of all time. So it's not like he just all of a sudden stunk at hockey. And then, I mean, that's just the card. Just drop it. Next one I want to look at is a 2015-16 Fleer Showcase Connor McDavid Red PMG out of 150. All-time high sale for any copy of this card, Troy, $20,400 US for a BGS 9.5 on March 16th of this year. A PSA 10 just sold for $9,545 US on November 23rd. Now, in the world of sports cards, PSA 10s usually dramatically outsell BGS 9.5s.
Yep.
And so the fact that you have a PSA 10 copy selling 6 months, 8 months later for less than half of what a BGS 9.5 sold for, to me, that's a sign of a steep decline again in PMGs. 2 more examples. Next one is a rookie 2016-17 Fleer Showcase PMG for Austin Matthews. This is the blue out of 50. Biggest sale of the day was a BGS 9, sold for $3,000 US on May 4th, 2021. Last sale was a BGS 8.5 on November 22nd for $1,434. Now, there is a 0.5 difference in grade. It's a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But for a 50% drop in its price, and again, the way PMGs, it's as long as the grade is reasonable, that seems what matters the most for people, right? Because none of them really. Yeah. Then the last one we'll look at is a 2020 Metal Universe Ovechkin Red. This is the 97-98 retro PMG out of 100. So all-time high sale, Troy, was set $1,750 US for a raw copy on March 24th, 2022. Again, another pandemic boom, height of the PMG market. Last sale was a PSA 7, which again isn't a horrible PMG grade. Sold for $223 US on October 30th. That's 87% decrease from the all-time high sale on a raw card to that PSA 7 sale. Pretty dramatic drop. And one of the things that you look at is, well, I mean, this is more than, of course, the market. We're not seeing 90% decreases in all hockey cards, of course. So kind of it brings you the question, like, what's happened? Well, how did this happen? I mean, PMGs are, whether you love them or not, it's hard not to acknowledge that they're one of the premier card brands in all of sports cards collecting. I didn't spend a lot of time doing this, Troy, but part of me wanted to do like a cursory look at basketball because the 97, 98 were basketball cards first.
Yep.
And so I looked at like Jordan PMGs from that year, and they're down maybe like 30%, but not 90%. Like we're seeing in some of these cases. And so as I thought more and more about it, Troy, to me, and this isn't a new kind of guess or factor, but it just has to be oversaturation. Since 2020, Skybox Metal, when PMGs were booming, the market was booming, it feels like these are coming out left and right, and there's just way too many now, and I think it's hurt kind of the overall status of the PMG in the market. And what I really hope going forward, Upper Deck will protect the scarcity of these cards, the totality of them, to a much better degree. Again, there's not like too many new talking points around this, but there's been way too many parallels. There's too many retros. The 97, 98 retros are way overdone at this point. I think there's
Yes.
3 different years of them. It's like, can we move on?
I'm pretty
We
yeah,
don't
even Upper
need,
Decks acknowledged it finally, right? Like I think a couple times when we've talked to him, it's like, yeah.
yeah. When you come out with the like even in the 2020 set where you had the base cards and then there was an all-star parallel and you
Yeah.
had a PMG of the all-star too, it's like, do we really need all-star parallels? Then you go to products like Metal Universe Champions where they had the Wayne
Yes.
Gretzky and the plain white unlicensed jersey
Yep.
PMG. It's like, um, stop, right? It's just there's too many.
Yeah.
Now, part of me though, I mean, I do like the most recent iteration of Metal Universe a lot better, where they basically had the base PMG this year. They had the retro, which is the 98, 99
Yeah.
design. So they kind of got out of the 97, 98 retros. And then there's that they introduced the 2013
Yeah.
retro that has more of that comic book feel, that kind of the
Yep.
Marvel PMG design, where there's the blue variation again. But then though, I was thinking too, do we really need 3 different PMGs in a single release either? Because for like a guy like Ovechkin or a guy like McDavid, you're gonna have in the base PMG, you're gonna have the retro PMG, and then you're gonna have that like that comic book one, right?
Yeah.
And if you map that out, Troy, over like a 10-year span, that means and you stuck to 3 different PMGs every year, do we need 30 Connor McDavid different PMGs? And even if they are cool in a 10-year span, or are there just way too many of these? I don't know, what do you think on that part? Do you think
They're
that the
probably yeah.
oversaturation thing is real?
There is probably the oversaturation is true. It seems like once these took off again, it's like, all right, how much can we pump into this product? Now, what if they did one PMG in the release, but like 6 different parallels? Does that like they add some new PMG colors? Does that dilute it? I'm curious if they've thought about that route. But I would, if you want these to be these high end scarce cards, I don't think you can keep pumping 3 or 4 different variations in each release. But
Yeah, I don't know. I think
and
part
the
of it
parallel
too
thing is the
is,
same thing. It would just dilute it even more. So maybe it's just one. I don't know. I get the space that Upper Deck's in, trying to you're trying to make money as a business. You're also trying to protect the brand, and you got to find that
yeah.
balance point.
Like, do you think there has to be a McDavid PMG every year? I think Upper Deck would say yes. They're like, I think their position would be, if we release Metal Universe with PMGs and there is a McDavid, people are going to freak out.
I
I'm not,
actually, I would think they do. I think they do, but that's me.
but to the point though, where none of them are worth anything. Or wouldn't it be exciting if McDavid PMGs are back after a 3-year hiatus too? I mean, wouldn't that create some? Because a lot of, I mean,
Well,
all this is basically engineered scarcity and
yeah,
engineered hype, right?
yeah. I just think personally that they have to from from a business standpoint, or else everyone's going to yell at them. Well, why don't we have McDavid PMGs now?
But if you took like a list of players and you included a certain amount of like legends in there, I'm not sure how much they'd want to do that either. But you have like your rotation of like Bedard, McDavid, Crosby, Ovechkin, Matthews, right? Like your top 10 guys, and you rotate them at least so that there's a couple ones. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I just feel like that there's just too many, and that to protect the brand, that they have to slow it down a little
Yeah.
bit. Hard to
I'm
do,
all for
I guess.
legend PMGs. I don't. I want that. That would be awesome.
If they produced a Bobby Orr legend every year, it would get watered down
Oh
too,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
that's part of the challenge. Okay, so now that the table is set, let's get back to the original question: are PMGs dead, or is now maybe a time to buy? You got a perspective on that? Do you think that, or I guess, what do you think?
Well, since I'll never buy them, they're not dead. There's no way they're dead. These things will always hold some value. It's just they're not as not as much value as they used to be, and maybe that changes if the configuration, like you said, kind of Upper Deck makes some changes there. But definitely not dead. They still have a cachet. They still have an audience that loves them, even though that's not me. But no, not dead. Probably time to buy if I had my guess.
I agree with you. I think that it is actually a good buying opportunity selectively. Like that's the qualifier that I'm going to use. I think what is dead is maybe, especially if the current production stays the same, is any PMG is automatically awesome.
Yeah.
I think that part of the whole scenario is over, where that did kind of exist a few years ago. Now you have to be really picky and go back to that like concept of firsts. Like, is it a rookie PMG? Is it a base PMG or like the main retro? So, no all-star PMGs, no achievements if Upper Deck goes that route, like with ePack or anything like that. Like, really be able to separate what are the special ones versus the run-of-the-mill kind of PMG cards. And the flip side of like what's happened to the market is you look at like a 2012 like the Gretzky Red Retro PMG, which is a cool card. It was the first PMGs for hockey, I believe. That, when it was 14 grand, I don't want to pay 14,000 for any card that's out of 100.
Yeah.
That just to me is a big risk. Now at a couple $1,000s, then it's like, if it loses 90% of its value, I can live with that. I can't spend 15. I mean, these PMGs have decreased in value faster than boats do. It's crazy.
Bust out
right?
another 1,000. Yep.
And so a lot of these cards are now much more affordable by so many more people, and you can. And me as a PMG fan, I don't feel priced out of all the cards that I would want, maybe to have in my collection, even it just as a PC item. So I guess that's where I land on this. If you're careful,
Yep.
and you're selective and you buy the special ones and not the run-of-mill ones, that it might actually be a good time to buy. Now, we have to say, too, that doesn't mean that they're not going to still keep going down.
Yep.
I just think at how far they've come down to this point that the risk is so much less than buying one because it doesn't hurt as much. Like I said, when you spend $500 a card and now it's worth 200 versus when you spend 5,000 on a card, now it's worth 2,000 sort of thing.
Agree.
Okay, we're gonna move on to new product releases. Kind of a lot going on. New product releases right now. After the longest hiatus that I can think of in
our
many months.
favorite release right here, right? This is us. This is all us.
Coming out Wednesday. Oh, I have ideas. So I'm kind of excited to share my thoughts.
Are we getting a box? Are you gonna go get one or two?
Yeah, we always do. Well, I don't know about two.
Oh, not at that.
We'll see. Well, you and me are gonna decide on the show if we get one or two boxes after we go through the checklist. Okay. So Wednesday, December 6th, 2022-23 SP Game Used comes out. The checklist was published a few days ago, so we're gonna kind of roll through it right now. Just some of the details first. It's another one of these one-pack box products where you get 6 cards in the pack. There's 18 boxes in a case. Right now, presale prices are about $150 US for a box. So that's what, $25 a card, something like that. If you get 6 cards for. Now, the original release price of 2021-22 SP Game Use was $190. So it's actually a little bit less than last year's release.
Yeah,
which is probably has to do with the state of the wax market and logjam of products, and then the weaker rookie class is why I would guess that is the way it is. But looking at 2022-23 SP Game Used. Oh, wait, time out. So I mentioned that last year's boxes started at 190. Yeah. They're about 90 US now.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Even 150 seems a little spendy for now. I wonder if this will be one of those products that these card shops, LCSs, are just going to sit on. It'll be interesting with what's coming out. But let's go through it. Maybe there's some cool stuff in here.
For sure. 2022-23 SP Game Used has 230 cards in the base set, which is comprised of veterans, legends, and authentic rookies. So the breakdown, Troy, is there's 120 vets, 30 legends, and 80 rookies, which is, I think this is the first release that hasn't been 50 or 100 rookies.
Yeah.
So I wonder how they got at 80 there. Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know this about SP Game Used. I'm curious if you did, but the base cards are numbered to the player's jersey number for vets, legends, and rookies, which I think is kind of cool. And then there's a bunch of parallels.
Was that last year's too? I don't remember that. Yeah, I was thinking synergy. I kind of dig when the base cards are low numbered. To me, that's kind of cool.
Well, then it gets a little bit wilder on the parallels because there's a red out of 200 plus the age of the player. So if the player's 22,
I love it. I love this. This is me. I love this.
It'd be out of 222, and gold out of 100 plus the draft year, which I assume is the last two digits.
Yes.
Like, right. So like if it's 2023, I'm guessing it'd be like out of 123. Yep. And then for rookies, there's a crystal parallel out of 25. Then for all three vets, legends, and rookies, there's a purple out of 5 and a green out of 11. So if you're a player like Cale Makar, who of course his jersey number is 8, that means the base card is going to be much more rare than the parallels.
Hold on. The green 11 or 1 out of 101?
101.
Okay, you said 11.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 101.
I just want to make sure we got that right.
Yeah. No, thank you. So again, if you're like Makar, who's number 8, the base card is going to be much more rare than the red or gold parallels. When have you seen a case where is that like in Synergy 2, I suppose, where the base card is more rare than the parallels?
I think it was, yeah, if I remember right. I don't ask me. I'm going to say yes, but it's probably wrong.
Troy Upper Deck is just working to make base great again.
Hey, I like it. I dig this. I love this.
Yeah.
Still not interested in buying it, but not yet, at least, unless you convince me with what else is in this checklist. All right.
There's also some auto to memorabilia base parallels as well. So like in the case, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a Slavkovsky authentic rookies jersey auto out of 25. These don't do much for me, but I like the overall design, but
don't like the smallish window, but I get it. However, how cool would it be to get, how do I say this? How do I get a Slavkovsky numbered one? So would I need 1 out of 2? Would it have to be out of 2?
That'd be a Slavkovsky.
And there's probably not an out of 2 version. Dang it.
Should probably sell for less if it's if it's got a Slavkovsky numbering. I for me though, like jersey sticker auto combo, not very exciting.
No.
One of the more popular inserts from SP Game Used, of course, are the draft day marks cards that feature each letter in the rookie's last name from like their nameplate. These are all numbered out of 35. They're autoed. The letters are all manufactured nameplates, so you just have to know that. But I think that's been like that for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's nothing new there. But highly sought after, highly collectible. Have you ever had the urge to put one of these together?
Nope. I pulled one from my box I bought last year, and I sold it to a
Sorokin, right?
Yep, Sorokin.
Yeah, it was a nice one.
The autos kind of blended, like they kind of started. I don't know. It's just the fabric that they write the auto on. It just kind of gets that smudginess or soaks into the fabric. So I'm not a big fan. But there are people that when these are put together, they look cool. I'll give you that. I think they look cool when they're put together.
I'm not a manufactured patch guy, so that's what kind of soured me on those a little bit. Now we don't have an example, Troy, but hang on to your chair, strap on your helmet, put in your mouth guard. There's also autographed mascot cards. Nice. I am sorry to report, though, there are no Bowie or Gritty autos.
Why would you not have the 2 most popular mascots, deranged mascots in the NHL?
We need to contact the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for an investigation as to why they're not in there. And again, this is, I think of like autographed mascot cards. One of my 9-year-old nephew would eat that up. But if I'm dropping $150 on an SP Game U box and my auto is Sparky the Dragon.
Even Nordy. Like, come on. I don't want Nordy.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, man. Okay, next card I want to look at is rookie renovations. These cards are really interesting. And I honestly don't know what to make of it because it's got like a cutout of the
Yep.
player in the card a little bit, and there's 2 patch windows, but the cutout like goes over the patch windows, which I've never seen.
Yep.
And the patches are very digital, of course. And so I'm like, what does this card look like in the past? But I couldn't find any on Card Ladder. So I wonder if it's a new card. I searched SP Game Use rookie renovations. But I just wonder if this is going to look different from the
Yeah, I
mock-up
hope it
once
looks
in hand.
better. Yeah, the mock-up doesn't do it for me. Like I would love to. I have to see this in hand. I'm not liking the mock-up
It is
very
different
much.
though.
It's different.
And I like
for sure.
they're all at a 15, so yeah. Now, then we have the Winter Classic cards, which this year's release are from the epic Wild and Blue showdown on January 1st, 2022, where of course we lost
Yeah.
at Target Field.
Remember
Remember that?
that
It was
like 7 goals or something? 8 goals?
yeah, it was horrible. It was like 20 below or something like
Yeah.
that too. It was just freezing. So, like you've seen, there's net cord designs that feature a game used piece of the net from that game.
All right.
And there's if you're watching on YouTube, a nice example of our guy Kirill Kaprizov. Not that he's hit the net cord at all this year, so that should make this card much rare. Can't seem to score goals. All right, try this next one's another interesting new addition. It's called Rally Time, featuring what has to be a manufactured piece of rally towel, I guess, with a portion of the team logo on it. The example Upper Deck provides is Mario Lemieux. It's out of 50. I actually really like the design of this card. I think it looks pretty cool. But again, call me a memorabilia snob, but I just don't like cards with just like some sort of like random fabric piece in them that has no significance to the player or a time or a game or.
Well, I want to know what this is from. Is it actually a rally towel from back then, or is it a
Maybe it is. Maybe I'm not being fair, and we'll have to wait to see the back because you can't tell that right now. But yeah, like if that was during a Stanley Cup run where they had rally towels, and that was an authentic rally towel from that run, it's like, okay, I can buy that a little bit more than something just made up, essentially.
I agree. Especially in a product called SP Game Used.
Yes. All right, next one, Troy, is Supreme Patches. Now, here's a card I can get behind because these are game used.
Yes.
Collie is the half cousin of the Mega Patch. Is a half cousin a thing? Can you have a half cousin of the Mega Patch?
I'm
card?
sure you can. Like I'm sure you can.
Premiere. Big window, but it's kind of relegated to one side of the card, on the right hand side of the card. In this case, it's a elongated oval that goes from top to bottom. Of course, Game Use patch is awesome. Really like the design. The patch looks cool. I don't mind cards that aren't autoed as long as they have big patches too. I kind of, in some ways, I think if the star of the card is supposed to be the patch, that maybe the auto even takes away from it a little bit. So I'm a big fan of these Supreme patches. Do you like them?
Yep, I think they look awesome. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Do I like how it's elongated? I don't know, but
that's different.
It's big. It's big. I like that. I like the patch. I like seeing the capitals, or you can see the I, the T. But these are usually pretty good.
Okay, so basically, from what you've seen so far, $150.
One.
Yeah,
I am putting my vote in for $1.
That's what I'm thinking too. And it just, when I went through this exercise and digging through the checklist, it reminded me so much of my love-hate relationship with this product.
Yeah.
I love the concept of SP Game Used. I love like the Supreme Patch card that we're looking at YouTube. And maybe, Troy, I'm just too literal of a person, but when I see, like you mentioned right at the top, right, SP Game Used does not often enough live up to its name of the product. It just doesn't seem like enough is actually game used. And I think it's a missed opportunity for Upper Deck and the hobby, actually.
Yeah.
So you have SP Authentic, which is a very auto-driven product, of course. You get the Future Watch autos, and it's kind of the key rookie auto. What if, Troy, just what if, SP Game Used was entirely game used memorabilia?
Yeah.
Like the Upper Deck made it the premier memorabilia product of the year in all of its arsenal. Like they just went completely nuts with memorabilia, game used jerseys, cards. Fine, I'll even live with jersey cards. Game used patches, gloves, sticks, skates, Heck, throw Matthew Tkachuk's piece of his mouth guard in there. I really
Yeah.
don't care. And then, and not just like the game use memorabilia, but include stuff from like special or specific games. Like, and I know they already do a little bit of this, but they're out of 5, and there's like 6 players on the checklist, right? The Winter Classic, everything from the Winter Classic should be in these cards. Stadium Series, Global Series games. They've been in Melbourne this year. They've been
Yeah.
in Sweden, where you played hockey. We know. Stanley Cup Finals, playoff games. Maybe take a page out of the Fanatics book, and this is where the NHL debut patch could live, if not in the cup, right? Or
Yeah.
significant like games in a player's career. Just make the product like the crazy game used memorabilia product, and then I think you could charge $350 a box.
Yeah.
And people would buy it if it really. It's just, it seems like, honestly, we're gonna spend $150, and I know I'm being fatalistic here and try to be optimistic, but we're gonna end up with like a Dino the Dinosaur auto and like a piece of like some like rally towel that never existed, and that's gonna be our big hits.
Yeah, I love the idea. They would have. I think it's a fine line. Just make sure that the NHL's on board and doesn't like get mad that some of the stuff wouldn't be in the cup. Which I think if you get a
Yeah,
little
you'd have
too
to.
high end on the stuff, you might be like, oh. But yeah, I love the idea of doing that. I don't
Save
know
the
what.
best of the best for
Yeah,
cup, right?
yeah,
But use the other part. There would have to be a lot more. They'd have to be in much more cahoots with the NHLPA and the league
yeah.
to pull something
Yes,
like that off. But
yes,
so I agree with you. I think we're going to be a one box show for 2022-23 SP game used. Okay, the other new product kind of news release, it's already sold out. So it's kind of weird at this point. We're talking about
yeah.
it as before it was sold out, but now it already has. So yeah, weird space kind of time continuum again. ePack released, right? 2023-24 Upper Deck rookie debut. So it's a product that Upper Deck released on ePack without a ton of warning, frankly. Like we had heard about it the day before,
Yeah.
and then we didn't get the checklist until it came out on Friday. Yeah, it came out on Friday at noon Pacific time, so 2:00. So yeah, that was even like 3:00 Friday afternoon Eastern time. The concept is rookie debut cards and it was for a number of the 2023-24 key rookies. There was 18 rookies on the checklist.
Yeah.
So, and most notably guys like Bedard, Fantilli, Leo Carlson, Luke Hughes, Logan Cooley, Matthew Nyes, Devin Levi, and Dustin Wolf. So it's kind of the best of the best, which is good, right? Because packs were $20 US for 3 cards.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get 3 rookies you never heard of, that would have hurt a little bit. Pretty simple configuration too. So you had base cards. You got 2 base cards in a pack, and then there was a number of parallels. So we'll go through the base cards first. If you're watching on YouTube, I put up a Logan Cooley example where I don't know, it's kind of like a plain card design. The base card's a little bit gray, and really, like at first, I was confused as to, well, what about this is rookie debut? I don't see, you'd expect like almost like a game data moment where it talked about their first game, but there's nothing on the front. But then if you look on the back of the card, it does have a little bit of a write up that talks about their first game in the league. So then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Here's the rookie debut concept. So in addition to the base, there's a few parallels. There's a blue out of 249. Here's an example of a Luke Hughes, one of the parallels. Now you might notice on the serial number it's XXX out of 249. That's because and then two, when you look at these cards in your ePack account, if you're lucky enough to hit one, it says physical pending. So the set has not yet been printed, and we actually reached out to Daniel Machado at Upper Deck, who is the ePack product manager, and he said that the cards should be ready to be shipped to you within 8 to 12 weeks. And then then they go to COMC like all ePack cards do, and then come to you. So kind of a bummer there. It's going to be a while if you want. And all cards are physical, even the base cards and any parallel. Then beyond Troy, the blue out of 249, there's a red out of 99. And this was our big hit from our pack opening video. We also hit a Luke Hughes out of 249. And we hit this Bedard out of 99, which was pretty awesome because it may be the biggest card we've ever pulled out of a pack.
How do we get number 98? How do we get 98 out of 99?
Well, we get lucky. That's how we do that. But and I want to get back to the whole experience in a minute. But and then there's a black 101 that I pulled an example off of eBay of a lucky person that hit the Luke Hughes. So there is a 101 Bedard out there
Yeah.
too. Then there's one insert a retro 1993-94 star rookies of each of the 18 rookies. And then there's a couple of interesting achievement cards. So you can get some base and parallel photo variants. It seems like photo variants are becoming more and more common in these sets.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Bedard auto out of 25 achievement card. I'm sure that'll go for big dough.
Yep, that'd be big.
And then a Fantilli auto out of 50 achievement card. So as I mentioned, the set was released on ePack at noon on Friday. And I would say, Troy, maybe 20 minutes after that, half hour, because I was just sitting at my desk. I'm like, oh yeah, that product came out. Didn't really have a video, like a pack opening video ready for that day. So I'm like, oh, I'll go and see how much they are and maybe get one. I couldn't get the ePack site to load for ever. And to the point where I'm like, oh, is my internet down? Then I go and I check out other sites and everything else is loading. So it kind of hit me. It's like, wow, ePack is must be pretty busy or they're having some site issue. Well, finally get it to load, and then because I was just sitting at my desk anyways, I had the 45 minutes and it was very clunky because it was so slow I got 2 packs and I was able to buy them, but then they didn't even show up in our account for ever. So I'm like, oh my gosh, are we going to actually get these or not? Well, what ended up happening was that people were bum rushing ePack to buy these. They ended up, the whole product sold out I think within an hour or two, something like that. And I mean, I was just timing and the fact that I had the time to sit through the frustration of 45 minutes of trying to get 2 packs. So we opened them. We got really lucky which never happens to us, which is kind of crazy how that worked out. So the first pack had a Luke Hughes base, a Connor Bedard base, and then the Connor Bedard red parallel out of 99 that hopefully we get before he retires. And then the second pack was pretty good too. We had a Logan Cooley base, Yaroslav Askarov base, and then a Luke Hughes blue parallel out of 249. So not too bad for $40 total spend. Now I do have to talk about too because it kind of got called out in a rightfully so for comping. I didn't even try to comp the first pack.
Yeah.
Because it was like I made the video like 25 minutes after the product had sold out and there's nothing listed anywhere. So I'm like, I don't know. Then about later that night, I did the Luke Hughes. There were some cards listed and I'm trying to figure out what's this blue out of 249 worth. And so I'm like, well, I can't find anything listed. I was going through like all the message boards. I'm not really we don't do a lot of ePack, so I'm not really tuned in to what these kind of cards go for anyways. And my logic was, well, like a Young Guns Deluxe out of 250 sold for like 190. It's definitely not worth that. So I'll put 120.
Yeah.
Then I post a video and forget about it. And then a guy messaged us. He's like, 120? Are you guys like on crack or something like that? I'm like, huh? So I go look it up and they're like, people have like for $40 on eBay, buy it now. So it's like, oops. But my mentality usually is if I'm going to make a mistake, like insta pricing a card, I would much rather price it or comp it way too high and look stupid than be the guy that puts it for like a $30 buy it now and then every other one sells for $200.
Yeah.
So that happened. But that's the fun of comping cards 2 minutes after the set comes out. It's not fun. So yeah. And I don't think too that I couldn't find previous year's rookie debut releases on ePack. I tried to search. So I think this is a debut set because my thought was, well, why does everyone care about this? Is it because the fact that it has Connor Bedard in it, where last year nobody cared about a Matty Beniers rookie debut, but it sounds like it's something Upper Deck did for Bedard. And I think too, like if we get our card fast enough, especially if it comes to us before the Young Guns comes out, it is Bedard in his pro uniform. He's on the ice. It's not like some like weird like thing from draft day where he throws the jersey on over his suit or something like that. But yeah, I think like anything Bedard, once the Young Guns comes out, the value of this will probably take a hit.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into mailbag, just got to make another quick mention for Gongshow partner PWCC. Of course, they sponsor us, and we're grateful for their support of our show as well. So a reminder that the December premiere auction starts this Thursday, will run through December 21st, just in time, Troy, to get me a Christmas present, right? On par with the level of friendship that I provide to you on a daily basis. So that's at least worth 20 grand.
Nice.
Always ridiculous cards in the premiere auction. I cannot wait until Thursday to see what hockey goodies are in there. Or maybe you're doing some Christmas shopping, like maybe for your wife. You know, you might have always thought she'd enjoy that perfect card missing from your PC as much as you would. If that's the case, we'd recommend checking out the PWCC fixed price marketplace, where there's over 5,000 hockey cards to find her that extra special gift you've always wanted. How would that go, Troy? If you got Mandy a Kelly Lindbergh.
Yeah.
I'll just put that in my case.
Yeah, I'll put that in my case for safekeeping. She'd love it.
Yeah. And then finally, Troy, the current PWCC weekly auction is live. You can log on to pwccmarketplace.com, where as of right now, there's about 250 hockey cards to bid on. Sometimes that number grows, so keep checking back. And on Thursday's show, you and I will each highlight our favorite vintage and modern cards in the auction. So again, check it all out at pwccmarketplace.com. Okay, mailbag time. Good questions this week.
Yep.
First one from M. Miller 20910 on Discord. What's the relationship between eBay.com and eBay.ca? I've heard that when I post domestically, it misses a large Canadian audience. Should I post Canada-oriented cards like Montreal or Vancouver players to eBay.ca? I'm not an expert on eBay, but for some reason, the reason why there's separate sites is they separate them from each country. My best guess, Troy, it has to do with e-commerce laws that govern each nation.
Yeah, Amazon does it, like Amazon.ca and
yeah, they need to make sure that they're compliant with how Canada's e-commerce laws work versus how the US, so they can't just have one site, I don't think. But if you live in the US and you want to sell cards into Canada, there's a setting that you can make cards available internationally, and you can actually pick the specific countries that you want the cards to be available from. And if you do that, then that will make the card show up on eBay.ca. So you don't have to list it to eBay.ca separately. You just
that was my whole thing. Yeah, that was my whole thing, because that's a kind of a new release. I don't know, within 6 months ago, maybe 6 to 12.
Okay.
They came out with this whole international shipping. They made it a lot easier. And now you can get tracking, and it goes through a US. It's all eBay, but it goes through a US with tracking and then to Canada. It's still, I think, for a plain white envelope from here to, I don't know if they did plain white envelope. It's still like $10 or something, but it's a lot easier than it used to be. I remember I first got on eBay. You explained to me shipping to Canada. I was just like, never mind. So I've actually
I don't think you'd ever do it.
Yeah, I've actually sold cards to Canada now with the new way they have it set up. So
it's actually reasonably priced too.
Yes, it is.
Next question, Discord Kings fan, also known as California Dave.
Oh, our correspondent, our Ontario, California correspondent, California Dave.
You failed us, Dave, because you need to anticipate that we're going to screw up and look stupid. So he has a really great question, Troy, that you put some time into answering. Yep. So he says, I have a collection of cards, mostly autos, displayed in one of the rooms of my house. I've heard stories of the autos fading because of sunlight or certain light bulbs. What steps can I take as far as lighting to protect my cards from the autos fading? Should I have special one-touches, keep the blinds closed, have special light bulbs, etc.? Any info on the matter would be helpful.
Yeah, so this is one thing I didn't even know about that much getting back into it. And it was Mitch that kind of brought this up, Mitch Grotman. And I can't remember if he actually put it on an Instagram post or he was on our show talking about it. I can't remember the exact context, but he was.
Isn't he pretty draconian about it? He's like basically locked them up in a dark cave and never.
Yeah, he's very upfront. That says yes, autos can fade over time due to a variety of factors if they're out. Obviously, sunlight will destroy anything. You see, like people leave things in the back of their car. What's that? Yeah. So sunlight definitely will fade it. I think it's incandescent light bulbs will also fade autos and degrade them, where I believe LED lights are okay. You'll have to research that one, but I'm pretty sure I remember LED lights are all right. You can definitely buy cases that have, I don't know what the right word is, tempered glass, or there's like a protective coating on the glass.
UV coating, right?
UV coating, but obviously there. UV coating that protects it. And then like with mine, my display cases are in the basement, but I keep the blinds shut and they're in a spot where no sun will hit it. So it's kind of like sun definitely don't, and it's such a tough balance because I'm one where I don't want to lock all mine up. I want them out. They're almost like art as well as cards and cool things. So I want to display them, but you do have to be smart about them because enough like sunlight or incandescent light bulbs and you don't have the right protection, it will definitely fade them.
Yeah. Good answer. Next question. Discord Blade Visionary. I think this is a first timer as far as questions go.
Oh.
Not sure if this has been asked, but what's one card you guys both have a special connection to? Doesn't have to be rare or expensive, just memorable, and why. Now, well, I think you and I have a lot in common. I think our collecting tastes are a lot different. So I was kind of grasping, Troy, at what's a card that we have in common. The only thing I could think of, and I'm curious if this will resonate with you as it kind of, I guess, did for me, is I remember in like the key pandemic hype when we were getting back into cards, and you could barely like get anything even in retail. There was nothing available.
Yeah.
That I feel like both of us were buying Series 2 2020 retail boxes trying to get a Caprice Cup Young Guns.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us pulled one. You ended up buying your very infamous PSA 10. But if there's one card that I think we had in common from collecting, that's the only example I could find. Am I missing something or no?
No, I'm sorry. I was about to sneeze, but yes, that one is the one that first came to my head, and it's kind of a dual reason, right? It reminds us of the pandemic and what was going on during them, but also it just in my head and both of us, it's like remember to do your homework on Young Guns when you buy PSA 10. So yeah, that's definitely the one card that probably connects both of us.
Mm-hmm. Next question from Discord, Top Shelf Cookie Sniper. Since seeing Josh at the expo on a panel for content, it got me thinking, if the Gong Show did a panel for hockey cards, who do you guys want on your panel? So I went total pipe dream here, Jay. And I would say like my dream panel would be Gretzky, Crosby, and Bedard. And I think the reason for that is you'd have 3 generations of amazing players and chases in the hobby. And I would just love to get each of their different perspectives on did they, who they followed as kids, right? Who their heroes were in the game. Did they collect cards? And, their kind of childhood experience with collecting or not. Maybe they didn't. And then as how they feel about hockey cards now. Like, I've always wanted like what's your first reaction when you saw like your rookie card?
Yeah.
Or, do you even pay attention? Does it amaze you how much people spend for your hockey cards? Those sort of type questions I would love to ask. Is there a different panel that you could think of?
I was just thinking, I want current players that collect. I don't know who they are, but I would love just 3 or 4 guys that currently collect and just talk to them about how they got into it. How, playing in the NHL, does that change your perspective? Having to sit down and sign all those autographs. Do you hate them now? I would just love to get that perspective. And then I was thinking too, I think another cool one, I don't know, maybe you just have this on your panel. I would love to get the thought. Like, I always think about Bobby Orr and how he said he doesn't like to have his memorabilia cut up. I would love to get background on some of the player thoughts around that. Because to me, that's one of those things too. It's like, this is history sometimes that's getting cut or put into a card and what they feel about that. So that would be my panel. And then I think you guys have the dream panel all the time on with Jeremy and all those people going. You've done that 2 or 3 times now, 3 or 4 times.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we've asked to, I begged, just to be honest, Mikey Singer at the expo for me to be able to interview like a Ray Bork or something like that next time. And, we'll see if I can make that happen. All right, next question from Discord, H. Digler. What's up with KHL cards made in Russia for Russians? How do they make it out of the country? He said he's going to post an example. He found maybe one on eBay. I don't really know, Digler. I think as it be, the relations between Russia and the United States right now are not super
Yeah,
great. So
not great.
I'm thinking it's going to be tough to get anything. And eBay is probably your best bet. That somehow they make it out of the country and end up on eBay, posted in somewhere in Europe or back in the United States,
Do you think
or
it's
Canada.
like, yeah, it's like a Mogilny. You got to put it in the trunk of the car and hide it, and then drive them out of the country and try to get them over here. Yeah, I have no idea how they get out of the country besides eBay, or I'm sure they make their way out somehow, but don't know.
There's a bunch of KHL cards posted, and you look at the seller, and it's like Vladdy Pooty 1952 or something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Got to fund. They always got to get some money for the war, I guess.
Next question from X Sebastian Engelhardt. Is it better to get modern cards in the 500 to 2000 range graded or keep them raw if you're looking to sell them? I'm finding examples of PSA 9 selling for both more and less than their raw counterparts. I think it's a case by case basis, and you got to do what you're doing, Sebastian. You got to do the math, you got to do the risk reward. I always base it on 2 grades less than I think it's going to get. So if I've got a $100 card and a PSA, and I can spend $18 a PSA to get it graded, and it's for $200 a PSA 10, but it's worth $70 at a PSA 8 or break even at a PSA 9, then I think you gotta either go get like a second opinion from like a groups of, like, a lot of LCSs now are group submitters and they look at tons of cards. You just got to do the math and figure out, what you're willing to risk as far as, and I think too, like people that are really serious about grading to flip, that part of it too is doing enough, like doing in bulk, so that the law of averages play out too. So you're not just hoping that one card gets a 10 and you end up with an 8 and now you're sunk. But
Yeah.
so that's the way I would approach it.
Yeah, and one thing I would put into, if you don't have to stay with PSA, or if you don't want to use PSA, find those other grading companies and put into your equation that they don't upcharge, right? Because that's one thing too with PSA. If you think it's worth something and they think it's worth a lot more, they can upcharge you. Where I think, and I'm going to speak out of my league because I'm not a grader by any means, but I think SGC and I think Tag, and I'm not sure who else, but there's some out there that don't do upcharges, if I remember right. It's just a flat fee for your card. So that's one thing to also bring into your equation if you're looking to, if it doesn't have to be PSA.
Another good question from Instagram, JC Filthy Cards. When discussing comps, you guys talk about having to look in 2 places or often mention a comp as verified in Terapeak. Why not just start in Terapeak when reviewing comps? And then maybe on some higher value cards, use a service like Card Ladder to see if there are comps at other auction houses. It's kind of, to me, JC, it's like an order of operations.
Yeah.
When we want to start looking at a card, we want to see the total picture first to see, and Card Ladder gives you the most sources. I think Market Movers has maybe caught up a little bit too, but I think Card Ladder is a little bit easier to use from a UX perspective. And then drill into Terapeak in the case of where the eBay comp is relevant, because that's the other kind of important part of the answer to your question, is that Terapeak only verifies eBay sales. And so a lot of these cards will have, even Young Guns get sold on Golden Auctions or PWCC or other sources. And we always want to have the complete picture first and then verify the individual data. So that's kind of why I said it's order of operations.
No, agree.
All right. And then lastly, it's not really a question, but an update that we got from a gentleman from Facebook named Ward Zaharia. I thought he had an interesting. He's the one that asked about, do we believe that the early the 70s and 80s OPG cards were wire cut? Where both of us said we do, because that's what we've always been told.
Yeah.
Right. And here's his response. I'm just going to read it, then we'll comment. He said, listen to your show. I found it impressive. You went through and answered each question. Well, thanks. You asked about my OPG cutting question if there's a conspiracy. Well, no, it's not a conspiracy, but you were wrong. OPG never used wires to cut cards at any time. OPG cut cards from sheets in strips and rows. OPG used rotary cutters called slitters, and they are round blades. There are a few good articles detailing this, as well as some hobby experts that know the truth. A good read on the OPG Gretzky rookie is an article in the LA Times, so that's one we'll have to look up, Troy. Part of the reason is this wire misinformation got spread is that OPG paid employees or gave bonuses on productivity, so they pushed the machines too far and did not want downtime to sharpen blades. The wire misinformation is slowly dying, with more people becoming aware of the truth. So I want to say too, oh yeah, we had Bobby Burrell, right?
Bobby Burrell commented
Well,
on YouTube. Yep.
it's funny how this stuff like this happens at times where I had never heard anything different than that they were cut by wires, and now we have two people. And no offense to you, Ward, because I'm not saying that anything you're saying isn't true. I just have I don't know you, don't know who you are, what you're about, or have no way to verify what you said. So again,
well, the LA Times article, that's one way we could.
Yeah, I mean that's one way you can look it up. And again, I'm not saying Ward is wrong at all. You could be right. But that would be interesting if that whole wire thing was kind of a myth, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, having the comment that I'm pretty sure it was from Bobby Burrell. I mean, it said Bobby Burrell looked it up. If that's from him, he probably has the most information because he's kind of written a book on all of it. So I tend to lean that way. That's probably right. And Ward, you're probably right.
Yeah. Requires more investigation, but I thought it was just a very interesting response and took the time to explain. So very much appreciate you, Ward, getting back. And now I'm fascinated to learn the truth and probably verify what you've been saying.
Yep.
All right, Trey, we're in with personal pickups. You actually bought something. I didn't, so I'll let you.
I don't got them yet, but I put a order in for a couple boxes of 22, 23 stature from a user on Discord that I know. So I won't say his name because I didn't ask anything for permission, but I bought a couple boxes. So we will see.
I haven't got them yet, you said, right?
No, I haven't got it yet. They'll be here next week.
Okay. I'm trying to buy cards. Been trying to do a lot of my card. I haven't had a lot of time, so I want to do some trades on my card post. I tried even a bit on eBay, which I haven't done forever. So yeah, I'm trying to get back on the swing of it too. Well, that's our show for today. If you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, it's got Troy in it, so how could you not? And you want to support us and you want to chat with us every day on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our $1.99 support level tier on Patreon. There's a link on our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, or you can go to Patreon website, patreon.com. Search for Hockey Cards Gongshow. There's a link in the show description if you're listening to us on a podcast app, or in the description on YouTube. And there's also a link in our Instagram and TikTok profiles. I did it.
Nice.
Didn't even screw up, Troy.
Nice.
We're on social media. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollarbox Ventures, LLC. Happy Monday. Have a great start to the week. We'll see you all on Thursday.